What's up, people? Welcome back to Shed Show and the first episode of what I'm going to be calling UFC Ketchup. And that just means we're going to talk a little bit about a UFC topic. It doesn't have to be current. It could be any topic that I'm thinking about, and then we will recap a month or so or whatever. The topic that has been on my mind lately is the fact that Dana White is just constantly making it really hard for me to enjoy being a fan of the UFC, man. For a multitude of reasons, but mostly this. Dana wants to pay the fighters as little as possible, hold his stars as long as possible, and then lower their stock as much as possible when the time comes for them to part ways. That's whack, and it makes me mad, you know? And these fighters are still considered independent contractors and yet are held hostage by their UFC contracts so that they can't, be an independent contractor for someone else. As far as fighter pay, the simplest way to understand it is the split of overall profits is far from fair. And while it's up for debate how much less the bottom of the card should make versus the top of the card, regardless of all that, the amount of money budgeted to pay fighters is just much lower than it should be. And the thing is, it's significantly lower than it needs to be for the business side of things to be and continue to be exorbitantly wealthy. There's no justification for this. It's just greed. He honestly seems to have like a low-key contempt for the fighters. Aside from the few that he likes, unless you'll get in the sandbox with Dana and play trucks, even though you're cool and you know that's not cool, unless you can lower yourself to that kind of brown-nosing of your adult child of a boss. And that means making the truck sounds like you mean it. You can't half-ass that shit. You can't be like, if you can't play trucks with Dana, you're completely disposable. And when it comes to specific fighters that he really specifically doesn't like, he actively tries to negatively affect their lives, which brings us to the upcoming fight that exemplifies these practices and encapsulates his career-long mistreatment of one of those fighters that wouldn't play trucks in the sandbox. And that's Nate Diaz. Step off the porch, rag hanging west side. That's what we banging, crucifix swing. And that upcoming fight being Nate Diaz versus Khamzat Chimaev. This matchup makes no sense, except in the worst way. Nate Diaz has such a long and brutal career. He has done so much for the UFC. I mean, he is responsible for a large contingent of UFC's popularity, and he's a veteran. And Dana is such a weak man that because Nate doesn't show him the right kind of respect that he expects from his fighters, he wants bad things to happen to Nate Diaz. That's where I draw the line. If we squabble, that's one thing, you don't try to fuck with people's lives. It's simply a difference of personality in a business relationship that is, regardless of that, mutually lucrative. And this is not some conspiracy theory. Dana's always been like this. I mean, if you get on his bad side for whatever reason, he fucking hates you. All the fights Nate Diaz has had, all the damage he's taken, him versus Khamzat is just, it's literally a slaughter. I've heard reference to Nate's upset win over Conor McGregor as somehow being reason to believe that Nate could pull off this upset win, but that's apples to oranges. The opponents are totally different, from their physical bodies to their skill sets. And I mean, don't get me wrong, dude, I would lose my fucking mind if Nate did pull off the win. That would be the coolest thing to ever happen in UFC history, at least since I've been a fan. And if he didn't re-sign with the UFC after and just put up the fucking middle fingers and went and made a bunch of money doing something else real quick, that would be even better. Although Dana has really not been intimately involved with the matchmaking for the past few years, I goddamn you that he had something to do with this one. I guarantee it. And it's totally inappropriate, and honestly, it's sadistic. You know what pisses me off? His beef against Ariel Helwani. Dana White makes it hard for me to be a UFC fan. How about the fact that he's consistently dishonest? Yeah. And he's also dismissive, which are both words that start with D. And what I mean by dismissive is like when he gets asked legitimate questions about things that he is uncomfortable talking about, like he just goes full on dismissive, like, and it's a bad look. It's a lame move. I just think he should be better than that, but whatever. Gosh, he's dishonest in all kinds of ways at all times. But like one example came up recently in a very interesting way is how UFC is on this crazy streak. I forget the number of sellout events back to back to back to back.
Does the streak continue? Does the sellout streak continue?
We're sold out. It's not, you can still get tickets right now. We might go the rest of the year and sell out the entire year. It's pretty crazy.
What they actually are doing is they just sell as many tickets as they can. They isolate and close off the section of all their remaining seats, and their experienced production crew know how to avoid that area and any angles showing that empty section in the broadcast.
The crowd was amazing. I mean, the crowd's something special, man. The way they cut the arena off halfway and then they packed the rest of it, it felt big.
Another thing that happened recently that ties in more with fighter pay, but it's just overall just like distasteful / like what the fuck, is when he gave like one of the Nelk boys, which I don't really know much about the Nelk boys except they're basically just like fraternity bros, it seems like. And yeah, he gives one of the Nelk boys $250K in cash, like for their birthday.
No. Holy shit.
Yay, they think I'm cool.
It's just like, what the fuck, dude? $250,000? You're just gonna give a fucking Nelk boy $250,000 in cash just for his birthday? Like,
You make me ashamed to be bald.
there's a good chance that none of the fighters on whatever fight card it was that he did this right before made that much money for their fight. Like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? He's greedy. So many motherfuckers in this world are greedy. It's whack. Alright, now we're going to do the catch up on the past events, and I'll try to say like one sentence about each one. So we're going to work backwards. August 19th, 2022, Usman versus Edwards. You all saw it. I saw it. I don't even know. That was the best moment since, man, I don't even know. August 13th, fight night, Marlon Vera versus Dominic Cruz. What can I say about that? Dom dips his head, and Marlon timed the perfect head kick. And on August 6th, we had the fight night, Santos versus Hill. What can I say about that? I love Jamal Hill. That's all I got to say about that. July 30th, UFC 277, Juliana Pena versus Amanda Nunes 2. The rematch. I mean, as a Pena fan, I was worried about her because I thought that maybe her win over Amanda could have had a lot to do with Nunes showing up unprepared or something else, and this rematch proved my worst fears. Juliana Pena was absolutely fucking brutalized. That was really hard for me to watch. July 23rd, we had Blades versus Aspinall. Super weird, unfortunate freak ending. 15 seconds in, Aspinall injured his knee. But I do believe that Curtis Blades was going to win. And then before that, on July 16th, we had fight night. Brian Ortega versus Yair Rodriguez. Weirdly, another super unfortunate ending in the main event of a fight night, except not again because this happened before the Tom Aspinall and because we're going backwards. Why are we going backwards? Let me know in the comments if this should be in chronological order instead. And then on the 2nd of July, we had UFC 276, Israel Adesanya versus Jared Cannonier. Super disappointing fight. As far as like whose fault it is that the fight was like so lame, I mean, I feel like that's more on Jared than it is Israel. I mean, especially because Jared's style is like, he closes distance like from far away with like lightning strikes, you know what I mean? He just wasn't doing that. So I feel like he didn't even give himself a chance, which is sad. I mean, I don't think he necessarily would have won at all, but he should have at least given himself a chance. And then last but not least, or should I say first but not last but not least, we had UFC 275, Glover Teixeira versus Yuri Prochazka. I mean, crazy, amazing fight. Although pretty sloppy, honestly. Like, I don't like how the fights that are always talked about as like fight of the year contenders are the kind of like, you know, slobber knockers, which of course those are cool and everything, but I actually agree with Yuri Prochazka in his criticisms of himself after the fight. He said that he was sloppy or something to that effect, and I actually agree. I guess I'm glad they're rematching. I don't usually like rematches unless they're like later on the line. I don't like back to back. It's just like, come on, we just saw that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's the catch up, and that's all I got for now. You guys want to see my puppies? Hold on, let me show you guys my puppies. Okay, this is Comet. Say hello to the folks. Hello. What was I saying? Oh yeah, that's all I got for now. Did you guys see Demetrius Johnson knock that dude out in their rematch? This knee is just so precise. And the thing about throwing knees like that is like it feels weird. It doesn't feel the same as when you throw a punch or a kick because it's more like you're launching yourself. So it's like it's not as intuitive. You have to like, you know, but his knees are so trained that they are intuitive for him. And they're amazing. He's got the best knees in the whole game, I think. Anyway,